Hello Internet, welcome to the Adventures of Bacon Boy. So today is week 2 of my Road to Recovery series, and so this week I want to cover shoulder workouts, specifically because during the week when I was doing my shoulder workout or my arm workout, I was doing an overhead press, and I felt after the first set it felt pretty good, so I went up in weight a little bit, and during that second set I started feeling a little bit of pain in my lower back, and I know it was from me arching my back. I couldn't film it, so here's a little reenactment of it, and I'll show it while I keep talking. So essentially, as I was doing more and more reps at that weight, I can feel that pressure in my lower back, and I knew it was from me arching. So I knew that wasn't going to be very good, wasn't very healthy, especially because I have a lot of back pain. So I took a moment, I paused, turned sideways so I can face a mirror towards my side, and then I took a deep breath to reset my abs. Because I knew if I'm having trouble with arching my back trying to do overhead press, one of two things is going on. Either one, I don't have enough flexibility in my shoulders to properly go overhead, or two, my abs are relaxing too much and thus not pulling down hard enough on the front of my body, causing me to then arch my back. So the easiest one for me to control in that moment is just to reset my abs, to reset my ab strength. So I took my breath, reset my abs, and pressed overhead, and took a peek at the mirror, and I could see that my arms weren't going straight over my head, that they were slightly in front of my body, slightly in front of my head. So they were creating that slightly kind of like almost dog leg shape, that slight angle. And so I knew that I had to start doing some more exercises to increase some mobility and flexibility in my shoulders, so that way I can properly overhead press, which is my goal to be able to do. So in order to do that safely, I need to work on that, which has come to the topic of today's video. So if you were interested in those couple of exercises to help build healthy shoulders, they're not the best exercises and not the definitive, but these are 5 exercises that are going to do really good to help you build healthy shoulders. So if you want to watch those and you're interested in that, go ahead and click ahead to this point in the video. If you want to understand how and why, then go ahead and stay tuned. So now that you've either skipped or stayed, the most important thing to remember when you have that shoulder impingement, that's what it's called, the technical term is shoulder impingement, that lack of range of motion, is it might be due to your bone structure and not just a lack of flexibility. Because you have essentially 2 to 3 bones from your body that point out towards your shoulder for then the head of your humerus, the head of your arm bone to be able to sit into. And if you look on a skeleton, that's not a lot of room securing it, because it's trying to be a ball and socket joint. So that head of the humerus has to be covered by the socket, and that bone structure doesn't create a lot of support around it. But what it does do is it provides a lot of attachments for the ligaments. And the ligaments and muscles that are around it, essentially referred to as the rotator cuff, and what all the muscles from your bicep tendon to your pecs to your lats to teres minor to a little bit of your upper traps to your deltoids will all pass through and around there to create that socket for your shoulder joint to sit into. And that musculature, those ligaments, that soft tissue, are the rotator cuff, and that's what provides most of the stability to your shoulder. But those bones are still there for them to attach to and to have something solid to hold on to. And as you move your arm up, one of the things, I believe it's called the acromion process, that's the the tip end of your shoulder blade. It sits at the very top. It's kind of where your collarbone attaches into. So if you were to follow your bone all the way down towards the edge and where it ends before it comes right down, that is your clavicular and acromion AC joint. So if you've ever separated your collarbone, that's usually where it separates at. It's really common for football players to get that kind of injury. And so that specific point on your shoulders, that AC joint, can move. And it has to move because the shoulder blade needs to be able to, from the top and the bottom, needs to be able to spin its way out in order for your arm to come up. So if this is my right shoulder blade, as I move my arm up, my shoulder blade has to rotate a little bit to move that acromion process out of the way in order to get my arm to be able to come up and overhead. And if it doesn't move properly, then you get a lot of that impingement syndrome that those muscles are in the way of. So if that muscle is trying to help control the head of the humerus as it moves up, and the acromion doesn't move out of the way enough, you get that impingement, that pinching syndrome, the lack of flexibility, which for many lifters is causing a lot of pain. And for some people, they don't really realize it because they don't do a lot of overhead work. But if you're doing shoulder press and you have that, you're going to really start getting a chronic injury to your shoulders. And if you want to avoid that, you need to be able to readjust your body to be able to properly move your shoulder blade to help move that acromion joint out of the way. Once that can move properly and your shoulder blade can more easily move with stability through the range of motion that it has, then you start getting a little bit more flexibility in your shoulder. You start getting a little bit more range of motion back, and you get a lot less pain at the same time. So it's not necessarily working your rotator cuff, because that's a really popular thing, is trying to strengthen it around there. It's not that needs to be worked. What it needs to do is it needs to create space for that to move and for that to work. So the easiest way to do that is some of these exercises, specifically the flies. A lot of the flies are going to be able to help you work, or a lot of the flies are going to be able to help you work a little bit more on controlling that shoulder blade as it moves through space. So let's get right to it. Okay, so now that you know that you have that injury to your shoulder, well, not injury, but you have that chronic pain that's happening, you know it's from lack of flexibility, you want to now start avoiding an overhead press, because you don't want to make it worse and you don't want to cause more of that pain. So how do you work your shoulder still without causing pain? Easiest way to do that is to do a lateral raise. I have these 5-pound ankle weights. They will work just fine if you can't find dumbbells, if you're working out from home. But if you have a gym, you want to find something really lightweight to start with, because you want to try and keep your arms straight as you go out to your sides and then bring them back down. It's very simple. Everybody pretty much knows how to do these. And the most important thing is you want to just keep your elbows straight and lift them out to your sides and back down. If you're having a little bit of an issue, you can raise them slightly in front of your body at about like a 45-degree angle from you. Or if you want to work more of the front delt, you can still go up straight in front of you. But the workout I like to do with my clients and I like to do for myself, I call the shoulder raise complex, in which you raise out to the sides and then you pass them over into the middle and then you bring it back down. Because the one problem with the lateral raise is that you can't get a lot of weight onto it, because you can't physically hold it in your hands or move it out and around like this. So you want to make this exercise harder is to work that time under tension. So the more time you're actively holding your shoulders up like this, the more your shoulders are going to be worked. And the safer will be, because now you're not working in that overhead and pressing in on that injury to your shoulder. So when you're doing these, you want to really focus on making sure your shoulder blades are working at the same time that your arms are raising. So essentially, if you press your chest up, pinch your shoulders back a little bit, as you raise up, you should feel that tension in your back shift. And then as you move your arms forward, you should relax your shoulder blades and press them apart. So this is getting your shoulder blades to work in tandem with your arms to help create that stability. Just again, out to the sides, into the middle, and then control it all the way back down. And you can work in the reverse direction, or even at the end, I like to do is a burner set. So essentially just keep it up and be passing back and forth until you can no longer pass, or you can still hit the rep that you want to hit. Now on to the next one. All right, for the next couple exercises, you're gonna need to either grab yourself some resistance bands, either use a cable machine, or like I have, a suspension training system, something like the TRX. But if you're too cheap to buy that for your home gym, they have a couple of knockoffs at Walmart. So I bought the knockoff because I'm kind of cheap. But essentially what you're gonna do is 3 variations of a fly. You're gonna do the T fly, an I fly, and a Y fly. And all of these, your arm positions is set up a lot like the leather. It's fairly self-explanatory. So for the first one, the T fly, you're going to try and set your arms up at shoulder height out to your sides, and you want to lean back a little bit into your hands. Again, not very much. You probably doesn't think I'm leaning back right now, because you're going to have to control yourself back with your arms at the height of your shoulders. And then from here, keeping your arms straight, you're going to try and raise yourself up back to the starting position. It gets kind of tiring if you're using the suspension system, because you have to use a lot of your own body weight. So if you're just starting, I recommend using resistance band or a cable machine with a set weight set really low. But you want to really focus on your shoulder blades pinching as your arms go back and relaxing and moving out as you come forward. So you can again control that movement of your shoulder blades through space. So you want, again, if you're using these or any of them, you want to make sure you're keeping your arms straight. Control your way down, arms straight, as you bring yourself back up to the top. It can be kind of difficult, as you can see me struggling with it. So again, not a lot of angle if you're using the suspension trainer, not a lot of weight if you're just starting off. The next one is I do the Y fly, because that's slightly higher up in angle, about 45 degrees. So again, this one, you want to set yourself up like a Y, like you go into the YMCA, and you're going to start lowering yourself down. Hands will go straight down towards the middle in front of you. And then when you come up, you're trying to go straight out, up to the sides. So like with the T flies, you're trying to go here. With the Y flies, you're trying to go straight back up into that correct position. And you want to go nice and slow. And again, focus on letting the shoulder blades go relax and come away from you. And then tense up and then start pinching down as you get towards the top. And then now the I flies, the last one, your arms are going to be straight up overhead. And so you want to, when you're doing these, you're trying to raise straight up in front of you, control it back down. This one's probably the hardest on here, I find, but it would be a little bit easier. It feels just as difficult on using resistance band or the cable machine. But again, you want to start with your hands up overhead, lean a little bit into them, control your way down, and then the hard part, bringing yourself back up to the top. Really focus on keeping your shoulder blades nice and tight at the top, and in this position nice and loose. So don't pull yourself up with your shoulder blades just yet. Just keep yourself relaxed, and then as you start moving, pinch them together, bring them down, open your chest up. All right, that concludes these. On to the next one. The next couple you're going to want to do on the floor. And you're going to want to make sure you're trying to lift your chest up off of the floor, your hands up off the floor, and essentially you're trying to pinch your shoulder blades as you move down. Bring your elbows together and allow your shoulder blades to spread apart as you come up. But you're trying to separate bring the top together and then bring the bottom together as you're moving your hands back and forth, keeping them up and off the ground. This is going to allow you to, again, work in that correct range of motion with your shoulder blades, and you're essentially just going to do this back and forth. You can go more out to the sides and again back in, but essentially you want to work on pinching your shoulders up and then bring your shoulders down as you bring your elbows in so that you can get your shoulder blades to be moving in that correct pattern. So now we are on to the last exercise. The last exercise is called a face pull. And essentially you're trying to put everything you did together into one exercise. So trying to work on that, bring your elbows up high to try and start working into that range of motion a little bit and working a lot on that shoulder protraction. This is a nice upper trap and middle trap exercise too, so if you want to throw this on your back day, perfect. But essentially what you're going to try and do is have your elbows up to the height of your shoulders, pulling your hands right in towards your jaw. You're trying to end up in this position essentially. And you're going to control yourself on the way down as you let yourself back out, keeping your elbows nice and high, and then you're going to pull yourself up back into that correct position. So as you go back and down, again, relax the shoulders. I'm slipping on my socks. You want to relax the shoulders a little bit, and then you want to pull yourself back up nice and high with your elbows. So bring yourself down nice and smooth, let yourself relax, arms forward, bring your shoulder blades back, and then start driving your elbows back to help finish that motion. Really pinch in your shoulder blades, let yourself out, keep that tension, and then relax to end it. So just pull with your shoulders, pull with your elbows, relax with your elbows, relax with your shoulders. And that was what concludes all the exercises that are going to really help build a little bit more of a stable shoulder joint for you to be able to press more overhead and again without that pain. And if you're wondering why a lot of these exercises are dealing a little bit more with that upper back, it's again, like I explained in the how and why this is a problem, is that it's because your shoulder blade usually isn't moving enough to create that space at the top of your shoulder for you to be able to raise it up overhead. So you need to be able to work those muscles in the upper back, those smaller, mostly forgotten muscles, to be able to get it to move correctly, so that way then you can press and move freely overhead without any issues. All right, so that's exercises. I think it was 6 or 7 exercises to help build healthy shoulders. And like I explained, the reasons why, what we're trying to do is to build mobility and stability. And a lot of that comes from your shoulder blade being able to move properly. And so that's why some of these exercises work the upper back. Some of them work directly to the deltoids themselves. The way I like to do it is split them up, some to my back day and some to my shoulders and arms day. It fits a little bit easier into a routine this way, but you're free to throw these in whenever you like. But the floor retractions ones, the last ones I did, essentially, that one's a really good warm-up exercise for the days that you're going to be pressing a lot of weight, because it really helps control that shoulder blade and essentially gets you in tune with those muscles to the upper back. So those are really good warm-up. The rest of them you can do later in the workout as a finisher, as you're a little bit more pre-fatigued, and so that way you can hit them a little bit harder. But essentially that's it. If you liked this video, go ahead and like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to watch more, I will be back next week with more. See you. Have a good day.